Hey guys, and here to break down UFC 290, Volkanovski versus Rodriguez. So yeah, I wasn't able to do a breakdown for this one, but crazy event, really great card. Even the prelims and the fight prelims were really good. Really exciting too, I want to watch it all again. A few upsets there. I thought that could be very possible, like especially with the types of fighters that were fighting, like the upset of Whittaker, sucks obviously being Australian, and I think a lot of people are a fan of Whittaker anyway. Like I thought that might have been possible, even for Yair to upset Volkanovski. I thought they were both very possible outcomes. So who else? Yeah, so there was quite a few really great fights. Wasn't really a boring fight, I don't think, in the main card. Dan Hooker had an impressive win. I thought he might just pull it off somehow, and he proved a lot of people wrong, so that was amazing. Really great battles in there. So Volkanovski, he retains his featherweight title by defeating Rodriguez in the third round, and quite just out of the blue, he just kind of finishes him with that right, and like that shot there. Yeah, so going into this fight, I was afraid for Volkanovski for a few different reasons. The first one was watching the Islam fight. The way that he thought, even watching it back, he thought he still won, I thought was a bit of a concern, because I thought maybe, if he's listening to what the fans want, it's not necessarily the right, it's not an accurate analysis. So I was kind of thinking, is he dwelling too much on that fight? Does he think that he really won that fight? Is he really preparing for Rodriguez, or is he just obsessed with Islam and getting that rematch? So I was a bit concerned, but then I think just before the fight week I did see that he said a few things, can't remember what it was exactly, that made me get a little bit more confidence. He admitted Yair's a dangerous fight just because he's very crazy and unorthodox. That was good to hear. On the other hand, I felt Rodriguez had a really good mindset going into this fight, and he seemed to mentally be in the correct mind space. He seemed to be really well prepared, and he seemed to be hungry. So I thought, I kind of thought that he was very confident and very calm too. So I thought, just because of that reason alone, I thought he might have been a more of a challenging opponent. And also because he does have those crazy long range weapons, close range, all that jazz. And he might just catch Volkanovski. Oh yeah, I didn't mention before, yeah. Because in the Islam fight, Volkanovski seemed to get hit a lot, and he didn't seem to care. Like, he was so focused on watching Islam and controlling the overall fight that he didn't care about getting hit. And I don't know whether that's like a new style he's adapted, like that kind of Nate Diaz kind of style, where he's like, yeah, is that the best you can do? And he plays that little mental game, which is effective. But it's also dangerous. I mean, Islam hit a lot harder than Rodriguez, so I was just thinking, if he approaches this fight with Rodriguez the same way, maybe he's going to get hit with something crazy. But I think in a way it kind of worked for Volkanovski a bit, because he was prepared for all of those really crazy spinning like attacks. And then he did get hit with like the straight 1-2s or whatever it was from Rodriguez. I didn't really see any of that happen though until the third round, and that's the round that Volkanovski suddenly caught him with the right. But I was thinking, God, Volk, what are you doing? Like, why are you letting him? Maybe that's part of his game. I think that's part of his game, but that was that was concerning. That was so concerning for me. I really thought, you don't want to just get hit like that. But it ended up working well. I think maybe he was so focused on countering with that shot for Rodriguez in particular, that really worked into his game, because during the third round, Rodriguez was suddenly getting momentum, building momentum, getting very confident. And then Volkanovski waited for that one sloppy move, and he just countered him beautifully. And then Rodriguez was rocked. And it was just one shot. And in previous fights, I don't think I've seen Volkanovski have such an impact like that, over one shot. So that was interesting. And then Rodriguez just fell to, like, pretty much was hurt, wobbled, and then he just finished the fight. Just picked him up like he was weighed like nothing and just slammed him. I couldn't help but laugh when he picked him up, because it was just think I got it here. He just picks him up like he's, I don't know, a backpack, like a light one, and just tosses him. Yeah. he doesn't like slam him. He picks him up and throws him. And I think in that moment when he threw him down, Rodriguez was like, holy shit, this guy is so strong. I do think Rodriguez felt his strength earlier on and was like, what the fuck, this strength is, he's really strong. That's the advantage for Volk, being so short, all of his weight's in his torso, and that's so handy for wrestling, whereas Rodriguez is so tall and long, and how's he supposed to get any of that strength? Like, because his torso is probably like, I don't know, quite substantially smaller than Volkanovski's, so he just kind of manhandled him there and then finished him. I think Rodriguez, yeah, like I said, he came into this fight with a really great mindset. I think he was well prepared, and he was having success in the third round. I really felt like he could have possibly kept going with that. If he hadn't got caught, we could have been looking at a new champion. I still think that was very possible for him, but Volk clearly knew what he was doing with that counter. But one thing that baffles me a little bit is how you didn't take that shot very well. Now, there's a few things that I think come into consideration there. One is that he just didn't see the shot. Another one is that just before that, remember, he got headbutted by Volkanovski, and that could have had a bigger impact on Yair than he gave it credit for, and that could have actually taken a bit of his health bar away and made that shot like have a bit more impact. But I really feel like also, I think Yair cuts a lot of weight to come down to featherweight, and I think he knows as well. You know what? I think once he was defeated, he felt a bit of relief, because it's tough for him to cut that much weight. And he's like, yeah, you know what? I've done pretty damn well at featherweight, but you know what? Now I'm just going to have a bit more fun. I'm going to go up to lightweight and not kill myself every fight. So I definitely felt like he was disappointed he didn't win, obviously, but I think I got a sense of gratitude from him and a sense of pride, even though he didn't become the undisputed champ. I think he's proud of his career, and I think he knows that he's done better than what a lot of people would have given him credit for, especially with having to rebuild himself and coming from where he came from. So yeah, that was good to see. I think he's got his head in the right place. I really think that, and I think he did well. So I wouldn't be surprised now to see him go up to lightweight, see what he can do there, and just take on a new challenge. For Volkanovski, I think it's a good time to be an Australian MMA fan right now. What he's done is just epic. I think that's like 5 or 6 title defenses for him now, and you could tell during this fight, I noticed he looked up at the clock in the third round, and you could tell he was in a lot of pain after that fight. Like, he was wincing. He was in a hell lot of pain. I don't know like how bad his injuries are, but this guy is so mentally tough. He's such a warrior that he doesn't let anything set him back. So impressive. I would like to see him fight Islam in October if he's ready. I think he's kind of earned it, and I think that's a very compelling fight. I would have maybe Oliveira. Yeah, he said he wasn't ready for Abu Dhabi in October anyway, so why not? If that's what Islam wants to. I think that's great timing. Yeah, I think Volk's the kind of fighter that's going to get a lot more respect once he's retired, and people really see how incredible his career is. And he is definitely what I call a true warrior. Like, he's not just a fighter, he is willing to sacrifice anything, and he just has the physical gifts and mental gifts to be who he is. And he's a simple guy, he's a balanced guy as well. I don't know, he's not too much, he's a measured person, and I think that really helps him just with everything he does in life. Yeah, let's have a look at the I just quickly get out of this. I don't usually do this, but I just want to have a look at the featherweight rankings quickly. Oh, Ilya's number 4, okay. Josh number 6, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm looking at the featherweights. I do think Ilia Topuria has put himself in a really good position, but yeah, I would like to see him have 1 or 2 more fights before fighting Volk, just because he's young. I think that'll benefit him. Like, if you give Ilya 1 or 2 more fights, whether he wants to do that or not, I think it'll really help him just build his game and his experience up. because Volk is highly experienced now and highly skilled, so he's just got so many advantages. So I wouldn't mind seeing Ilya maybe take an interim belt. Depends what happens. We don't really want to do another interim belt, do we? So depends. I guess Ilya could go in there and still give, you know, a somewhat interesting fight, but interesting. Well, those rankings aren't real anyway. Yeah, Moreno versus Pantoja for the flyweight championship. So this fight was extremely close. So Pantoja came on top. I thought, like, watching it, I thought it was very, very close, but I did kind of give Pantoja the edge just because I think he ended up having a bit more, slightly more ground control, and I think his striking had a bit more impact on Moreno. But it could have gone either way. I thought it might have even been a draw, and, you know, no shame in losing that fight. I think they both won. Sucks for Moreno a bit because he's trying to build his legacy, and it's a bit disappointing for Mexican fans, but I mean, how could you not be proud of someone that fights like that? It's kind of like Volkanovski fighting Islam. Like, that's an awesome fight. So nothing lost there, just the belt, which is a superficial thing in a way. It's always nice to see a new champion come through. I don't really have a lot to say on this fight just because I didn't really know much about... for Pantoja, yeah, I don't really know much about him. I heard about him being a really strong wrestler and striker from some of the people I listened to, but I really didn't know what to expect. But yeah, it was a great fight. I think it was fight of the night, so yeah, not a lot to say on that one. Yeah, so this one's hard to talk about because Whittaker lost the way he did. Going into this fight, I did think, you know, Du Plessis was that threat just because he's so unorthodox, and that turned out to be true. Seemed to be a very effective style against Whittaker. I think this is a real good example of styles make fights, so if that's what people mean by that. Meaning that you could be the best fighter in the world, like Whittaker is, in my opinion, and you could be so technically sound, but if you get someone in that has a completely different style to what you're used to, then you're going to have a lot of trouble. And Du Plessis was fighting a lot out of southpaw, and I didn't think that would be an issue for Whittaker, but I think because it was southpaw and very crazy, like different style to what Whittaker was used to, he had a lot of success, and his team had really, really studied Whittaker's movements and ways to catch him. So they executed that game plan really well, and Whittaker just looked small in there. Whittaker, yeah, used to be welterweight, so he is a smaller middleweight, sorry. Du Plessis, he's a massive middleweight. And his deltoids look way too big for his body. He's wide and he's got those deltoids and the traps on him. Must give him a bit of punching power. So that kind of sucked. I thought Whittaker was prepared, mentally in good shape. He seemed to be in really good shape too. Maybe there was more to Whittaker losing, but it did seem like Du Plessis just shut everyone up, and sucks for Whittaker because he has really wanted that rematch with Izzy, and I still want to see that someday if that could ever happen, just because I do think that Whittaker can beat Izzy, but fresh meat for Izzy. I kind of want to see Sean Strickland fight Izzy now that he's earned it, in my opinion. So if Du Plessis isn't ready, then give us Strickland and Adesanya. Yeah. Not much else to say on this fight except it sucks for Whittaker. You know, anything can happen in this sport. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you put two men in a cage or two women in a cage, doesn't matter how good one is or how bad the other one is. It's a roll of the dice as well. It's a calculated roll of the dice, but it's still a roll of the dice. It really shows you how effective unique styles can be. And I was kind of wondering whether that was dying out a bit. Like, you have people like Tony Ferguson that were so different. But I guess after a while, once you get enough tape on that new style, then you can create a new weapon against it. And I think that's just going to keep on evolving in this sport, which is awesome. See, that's why you should never be, like, being technical is great, but it's not everything. But yeah, I do also really think that Whittaker looked a bit undersized against him. But, you know, props to you, Du Plessis, and good luck fighting Izzy. This fight, Jalen Turner and Dan Hooker, originally that was meant to happen a little while ago. But then Hooker injured his hand, and then they matched this fight up again. And, you know, originally I thought, oh, Dan, what are you doing? But closer to the fight, I did think, after watching Dan Hooker fight the way he did his last opponent, maybe he's going to be a bit more calculated. And I think for Dan, that really helps him fight better when he's more calculated. Yeah, Dan Hooker's an example of a fighter that I think he can just brawl and be crazy, but when he is calculated, he's very effective because I think his opponents don't really expect it. So I was very annoyed with Jalin Turner missing weight. I think everyone was. He's 6'3". Just go up to welterweight if you're going to keep on having weight problems. You're not doing yourself or anyone else any favors. I really hate that. I actually like Jalin Turner a lot. He's really cool. But why? So I was kind of wondering whether the weight miss was more of like something he did on purpose or whether he was actually having a really, really bad weight cut. And I kind of wondered like how much that would help or not help him. So I kind of thought, maybe I thought Hooker would use this as fuel for the fire. And whether or not he did, it didn't really matter because he just survived everything Turner threw at him and then just took over once Turner started to gas out, essentially. And he punished him for it. This was a really great comeback to watch for any Dan Hooker fan. I think we all, appreciate everything he's done for the sport and all of the favors he's done for the UFC, so it feels really great to see someone like Dan Hooker just come out and take out someone that everyone was giving him really no hope of winning against. So I didn't think it was a split decision. I thought it was 2-1 for Dan Hooker just because he nearly finished Turner in both of those rounds. Turner, I think, just managed to survive because he's so wiry and so long that he could keep Hooker off him from finishing him. But he was gassed out in the second round, and he was pretty much done in the third round, and Hooker was just punishing him. So that was really great. And Hooker outsmarted him in some of these exchanges too. So amazing comeback for Dan Hooker. So a lightweight, I would like to see Dan Hooker maybe fight Rafael Fiziev, just because Fiziev beat his teammate Brad Riddell, and I think that's a really good matchup to make. Otherwise, even Beneil Dariush, if he can't get an opponent, I'd like any of those fights. Even Arman Sarukian, I think they're good fights. For Jalin, I see Jalin's not even in these rankings. What's going on? These are really old. Okay, I think Jalin just needs to go up to welterweight, to be honest, because I think this isn't the first time he's had real bad weight issues. And I mean, 6'3" is even tall for welterweight, I think, in my opinion. Like, it's probably okay when you're younger, but yeah. Bo Nickel and Val Woodburn, who was the last minute replacement for the previous opponent who pulled out for whatever reason. I was excited for Val because he seems to have a bit of personality. He was 7-0, had a good record, but he looked a lot smaller than Bo. He almost looked, I don't know whether he was a welterweight on the regional scene or maybe just a middleweight that didn't cut as much weight, but he looked a lot smaller than Bo. And I didn't even realize Bo Nickel was southpaw unless he just came out in southpaw. So yeah, that, like, being southpaw alone could be enough to give most fighters a problem if they haven't really had much experience against southpaw. Like, it's such an advantage, especially at this sort of level. So I was kind of hoping Woodburn might have a bit more success, but I kind of felt like his only chance was to get right in there and not hesitate, just swing for the fences. But he was just waiting too much. And I think that if you just stand in front of Bo, he's just going to do something to you. So, but Bo Nickel, his striking looked good, but I'm just sick of seeing him matched up against people that aren't on his level or last-minute opponents. Give him someone legit. Like, seriously, how can I be a fan of this guy if he's beaten up easy opponents? I want to see someone legit. And that's just who I am. Like, I was saying the other day, I'm not going to like Bo Nickel until he goes through a little adversity, because there's nothing to relate to for me. Let's see what the middleweight rankings are doing. Okay. So for me, I reckon I want to see Bo Nickel up against someone that I think is on his level. So someone who I think is on his level is probably, why not Joseph Pfeiffer? Give him Gerald Meerschaert. Why not match up with Gerald Meerschaert? Not fluffy. Even someone like Edmund Shabazian, or okay, maybe it's too much for him. Maybe, so he's ranked 36 now. Oh, Chidin, no, isn't he light heavy? Give him someone, yeah, like Gerald Meerschaert, I would say, because Meerschaert is mainly like a grappler anyway. And if Bo Nickel's so good at wrestling, give him Gerald Meerschaert, or even Jung Young Park. Oh, maybe that's a bit much. I know they don't want to rush him, but it's just embarrassing seeing these matchups for him. He deserves better. So give him someone like that. Edmund Shabazian, did he lose? Yeah, give him Edmund Shabazian. Or Gerald Meerschaert. I mean, he's not a baby. Yes, that's about it. Disappointed for Jack Della not being able to fight, but it looks like he wants to fight in a week or two if he can, so doesn't matter so much. Really good fights. I'll try and do some more breakdowns before the fights later on in the year when I get a bit less busy, because I've got too much different projects going on right now. But thanks so much for stopping by and watching. Hope you enjoyed the fights. It was a really great event they put on. And see you around the traps.